Giving all of you a sweet. See to it that it is not spoiled by the ants, the flies, the cats, or the rats. Most of the students tried to preserve it in many ways, but there was only one student who partook of it. He digested it. He derived strength from it. What is the inner meaning of this sweet? It is not enough if you preserve the divine teachings in your books. You should imbibe those nectarine teachings in your heart. It is only then that you will derive strength and happiness. You should treasure in your heart all the sacred teachings that you hear and that you read. The Gopikas used to pray to Krishna, "O Krishna, play your sweet flute and sow the seeds of love in the desert of our loveless hearts. Let the rain of love fall on this earth and make the rivers of love to flow."
Thank you, Rita. For those of you who haven't been here before, it so happens that every time Rita digs deep into the teachings of Satya Sai Baba, for some wonderful, happy, miraculous that always ties into what we're talking about in First Sunday. Most of you probably have received a flyer which described our speakers for the day, Dick and Barbara Selby. You might have noticed that it has a new look, and I thank Bob Becker from the East Coast, who was here last time, to help us design the flyer to make it more readable and a little bit more informative as to what First Sunday meetings will be. And I'm going to introduce Dick and Barbara just as how I know them, not necessarily so much what's in here. We live nearby. I live in Pasadena. They live in South Pasadena. And they're both retired teachers. And what I really admire about both of them is how much just dedicated service they do, not only on specific tasks, but whatever comes in front of them at that particular moment, they will do. And it's wonderful. To make a list of all the things that they do and don't do would be too long. But Dick is always on the move, helping people. They have in their garage a food bank at the Glendale Center, stores things, and they give it out to families and do a feeding on Sunday mornings. His wife helped out at the Unity Center for such a long time, Barbara did, and as well as anything else. And they're really easy to call and ask them if, "Gee, can you help me do something with that?" And Dick is always helping somebody to go somewhere and take people to visit various things, all the way to Brazil and other places. So all I can talk about them is their true love of doing service, plus a lot of other things. And they're here today to share with how and why and what. And I know they will just open their hearts and be themselves and share what they're going to share. So would you please all welcome Dick and Barbara Selby.
It's wonderful to see everybody here, and I think I know every single person in this room. Yes.
What's Sairam mean?
To me it means God bless you. What does it mean to you?
Well, God and all, I welcome you.
Yeah, welcome.
It means so many things.
Yeah. So it's a wonderful group of fabulous friends here. We're all family. I'd like to offer my humble pronouns at the lotus feet of our divine Lord Sri Satya Sai Baba. And we're so grateful to be here. And I will share that thinking about coming here and sharing with all of you kind of opened me up a lot, because I tend to be more reserved and quiet. And my My husband isn't. You may have noticed. And so I really became more appreciative of his qualities through this whole process, because I was kind of trying to change him, make him do what I wanted. Is that true, honey? Is that true? So I didn't know I was starting. That's okay. I'm going to share 2 songs with you real quick, because our last 2 speakers have been very musical. But I'm not going to sing. I'm going to recite them. Music, the lyrics talk to me a lot. If I don't like them, I will not listen to that song. I think you all feel kind of like that. There's a song I heard either in 2005 or 2006. I'm not sure. And I cried. So I'm going to recite the first verse and the chorus. And then I want to talk a little bit about what I saw, the meaning in it. And it'll be fun to see later if anybody has heard this song. Am I too loud? No, okay. All right. She was driving last Friday, going to Cincinnati on a snow-white Christmas Eve, going home to visit her mama and daddy with a baby in the back seat. She was 50 miles to go. She was running low on faith and gasoline. It had been a long, hard year. She had a lot on her mind. Hello, Glendale Center. We just talked about it Friday night in our study circle. She had a lot on her mind. She wasn't paying attention. She was going way too fast. Before she knew it, she was spinning on a thin, black sheet of glass. Both their lives flashed before her eyes. She didn't even have time to cry. She was so scared. She threw her hands in the air. And this is the chorus. Jesus, take the wheel. Take it from my hands. I can't do this on my own. I'm giving in. Well, I missed that part. I'm getting too emotional. Okay. I get emotional at this part. So it goes. I can't do this on my own. I'm letting go. So give me one more chance. Save me from this road I'm on. Jesus, take the wheel. And I heard that the first time and I cried. And that's Carrie Underwood, who helped co-write, and she was American Idol in 2005. But the lyrics are just phenomenal. When you first hear the setup, you get the idea, and then they mention faith. And this was a top song in the country. They mentioned faith, and then it's been a long, hard year. Well, then you get it, and we've all been there in some way. It could be our health, it could be a friend's health, it could be our family. Long, hard year. She had too much on her mind, and of course, what is Swami's teaching? Always watch your mind. What are you doing? Pay attention. And she wasn't paying attention. Okay. But the mind we've talked about so much, because almost every discourse we read, Swami says, control the mind. And we sit in a study circle. We just did it last Friday. We'll go around, and everybody will give a technique. And yeah, maybe I won't use brother husband's technique. Can't think of anybody's name. But it will spark my thinking. It makes me dig deeper inside and think about it. Yeah, how do I do this? Am I paying attention? Am I trying to tame the monkey mind? And she wasn't paying attention. We all do that in life. And that's Swami's famous 5. Watch your words, watch your actions, watch your thoughts. That was the big one for me. Watch your character and watch your heart. So we all know that one. And then, let's see, what does it say? Oh, and she's going too fast. Well, aren't our lives kind of getting into that quite often? We work hard, we do this, we do that, we have families. Even us retired folks are always saying, I'm so busy now, which is a good thing. But we have to be careful. She's going too fast. We don't want to get into that and not have our time, our meditation time, our prayer time. We have to stop our minds. The spinning. Okay. But the chorus, Jesus, take the wheel. I can't do this on my own. And I think we've all been there where we couldn't do it on our own. And we knew we needed God. We knew we needed grace. And it could be saying Jesus. It could be saying Allah, divine right action, divine wisdom, higher consciousness. We all have different names. Buddha, Swami. Because sometimes when I do it in my head, I go, Swami, take the wheel. It doesn't matter what name we use. So anyway, that song, I loved it. I loved it. I'm letting go. Give me one more chance. Of course, God gives us 7 times 7,000 chances. And save me from the road I'm on. Save me. We all have that. We get that through God's grace. So that was one of my favorite songs lately. Then it occurred to me, there was another song that really opened up my heart. One of Swami's bhajans. I'm just going to say the first 2 lines. Love is my form, truth is my breath, bliss is my food. My life is my message, expansion is my life. That gave me an aha moment because I have a gentleman here that is very exuberant and draws a lot of people and meets a lot of people. And like I said, that can be a challenge for me. But when I finally listened to that bhajan, and Swami said, expansion is my life, and then we talked about the study circle. If Swami says my life is my message, he's also said, your life is my message. Okay, let's think about that. And then expansion is my life. I thought, okay, I get it. Aha. If Swami says expansion, then that is the right thing. We can expand. And if we're not expanding, what are we doing? Probably contracting. Not as good. Not as good. You want to be out open, learning, experiencing. So those are the 2 songs. I have 2 more little things. Is that okay? All right. I have a cute story from the ashram. Just a very personal one. Very short. I think it was 3rd trip. Thank you. Thank you. I think it was third trip. That's a good idea. Yeah. He knows what he's doing. Much better. Okay. I feel better too. So it's a nice trip. The weather's been lovely. We're in a nice room and probably one of the north buildings. And I'm there all by myself. And I'm reading this book and I'm getting into the book and I'm really enjoying it. And then the author lists our 7 enemies. Okay, so hatred, anger, jealousy, ego, materialism, judgment, criticism, things that we should learn to control and not do. So I look at the whole list. This is cute. I go, yeah, I have to work on all of these, but wait a minute. I don't get angry. I've got that one. Do you know what happened sitting alone by myself with no one there, no stimuli? Anger came right out of me. Just like that. Anger. And I got it. Aha. Swami knew exactly what I was doing and where I was. And he made sure that anger, he forced that out of me, or however you call it, he caused that to give me that message. Okay, put it back in the list. Okay, got plenty of things to work on. And my whole point really is that we're all on a path. And it's such a wonderful one. And it's been 14 or 15 years for me from the beginning to today. And I get it. It's like step by step. These little things that we keep learning and happening. And I learned so much in the study circle at Glendale Center. I'm so grateful for that. I'm a listener, so for me, listening is really important. Reading is good too. And then the listening. And one more. Okay? Real short. I broke my kneecap almost 3 years ago. And I had to wear a brace. Couldn't drive. Couldn't do a lot of things. Okay? I couldn't even climb into our bathtub at home. So I have a sweet neighbor, and she's a little teeny 80-year-old, and she wouldn't even let me walk to her house. She'd come and get me so I could use her shower, because she has a walk-in, so I could have a shower. And people brought food, and people sent cards. It was just like, wow, this is so nice. Look at all these people. Aha. It had nothing to do with me. It gave all of them opportunities to perform service, to show love. And I got that. I go, this has nothing to do with me at all. This is God in action. These are my neighbors, our friends, everyone. Just being loving and kind. And that made me feel really, really good. That I was kind of an instrument in that way. If you got to break a kneecap, okay, don't do it. But yeah, if you have to, there's some good things. And to me, there's almost any negative, there's a positive. It's always there. So, thank you. Yay, your turn.
Yeah. Can you hear me? Good.
Yeah.
Marvelous. Marvelous. Swami, why me? I ask you this so many times. I say, Swami, what's going on? I don't believe it. I got myself into another big mess. So here I am. I want to thank you, Swami. I want to thank Bob Bazzani. Wow. When Bob asked us to speak, I said, Bob, do you know what you're doing? I said, I'm out of the box. Which means I'm not like most people the way they do things. I got a feeling here most of the people are out of the... In fact, I know you are. I know most of you here. We've gone places together. We've talked. We're out of the box. So what happens, and I've talked with many people about this, and first I'm going to talk about traditional Sai Baba people, and I'm going to talk about the non-traditional. And I do believe there's a difference here. And it's been a concern of mine. It's like, how can we get these two groups together? And why is it this way? Traditional, okay, if you're from India, it's normal to have a guru from India. It could be Sai Baba, it could be Shirdi Baba, it could be somebody else. You automatically fall into the traditional by doing something like this. If you're from the United States, having a guru from India is not the traditional, it's not the normal. And so what we have are kind of the two different groups. So what does this mean? Who does Swami love the most? Good question.
Hey Dick, don't walk around so much. I can't track it.
No. This morning I was down at homeless feeding, and most of the people who come to the homeless feeding are kind of the traditional and so on. We're talking about it. And last week, Dr. Reddy was there too. And I was talking with a guy, I call him Pom Pom, Anupam, whatever, and he was saying, love, devotion, love, devotion. Last week when I was there and Dr. Reddy was there, and it was a yearly kind of a memorial for his mother doing all this service and so on. We're talking about service and say what we do down here. Well, it's amazing. And Baba, I believe, is love. I'll talk about this more. Love, love, love. And it doesn't matter whether we're traditional or non-traditional, fortunately. Bob is here with all of us, and that's what it is. Baba says, install me in your heart. Install me in your heart. That's what we need to do. And I believe it works. I was reading a book on Shirdi Baba where it's your heart and your head, and you have to have both kind of united. And I believe this, but we function from the heart, and we're all receptacles, recipients, the Atma, part of God. It's in all of us. Now, as I go along today, I'm going to be talking about some people. And I believe what happens is God comes into us, we're all vessels of God. We're vessels, vessels, vessels. And like water, I'm giving some of my philosophy here, water takes the shape of whatever the form out there is. God comes into the vessel and fills the vessel. Some people have humongous vessels. And I'll just point to the picture over here. And this was drawn by a young lady over here. Maria, raise your hand. She drew that. If you notice, it has a substance on the front. That substance, of course, we know is Verbuti. That was from a woman named Barossa. I'll be talking about Barossa and so on. But her vessel is huge, and there are other people with these huge, huge vessels where this godness seems to overflow. And we're just so fortunate to watch, to be a part of this godness that overflows. I also want to thank some people who showed up. I'm going to start with Umesh and Bharti. Umesh and Bharti. They do bhajans at their house, and we're very fortunate. As I said, we're kind of the non-traditional. We have actually 5 different houses where they do bhajans, and most people don't know about it. But these are like miracle houses, all kinds of things that have happened. And I want to say this too, and we don't think about this when people are doing bhajans at their houses and so on. That is seva. That is service. That, as you guys know, it's a bunch of work. And God comes into all these houses. They have pictures, they have with Vibhuti, maybe a Swami robe, other things. And I'll just mention Umesh and Bharti. They did this mantra kind of a thing where they do 100,000, something like that. And this was 2 or 3 years ago. And Maria, who is a medium, saw Sai Baba there. So, Bob is with us. And my next question is here. If we look around like Bernice and Vera and so on, how do we know that Bob is here? How do we keep ourselves separate? What happens? How do we do this? Because we do this. We put our blinders on and we go throughout the day, and I think we forget it. I know I do sometimes. Going back 2 months ago, we had a guy here, Masanobu, who spoke of the Japanese fellow, Imoto Masuri. And Imoto Masuri did the crystal thing, where it shows with crystals that are frozen, if you put love on one jar and freeze it, hate on another, peace, kill, and then you freeze these crystals and look at them. My God, what differences. And I say to all of us, my God, as we talk to ourselves, what are we doing to ourselves? What are we doing? Because as we have these thoughts, it's going to affect every freaking cell in our body. So what to do about this? And these other guys who came in, they're songwriters, and they create these songs, and it's really good, but it's really for them. It's their way of keeping in line with love. Because Baba is love. God is love. Christ is love. That's what we need to be focused on. So going back about 2 years ago, I'm sitting there saying, I'm saying some of these kind of standard prayers, and Swami, they're not taking me anywhere. It doesn't feel right for me. So what I did, and I'm going to have everybody close your eyes, I wrote up my own morning prayer. And I actually recommend for each of you, because each of us is different. Each of us is our own individual God unit. But anyway, I wrote up my own prayer, and I want you to close your eyes. I'll read my morning prayer. Just keep your eyes closed. Oh Lord, the glory of your love and the wonder of the day await. I look forward to each moment. And I know that thy presence will both bless and anoint. I know that every person, every event, every transaction is an opportunity that will never come my way again. And throughout this day, God, Swami Sai Baba, I will live your love. I will feel your peace and carry your grace as your presence guides and protects and leads me back to the everlasting bliss from which I came. I will say this prayer to myself, and I have it out there if anybody wants it. I will say this prayer to myself in the morning when I'm driving. And I think each of us, we've been given a gift of life, love. Each day, each second is an opportunity. So with all the people here, when we get out, each person, it's an opportunity to live that love, to share that love. And as we do it, that's something that emanates from within ourselves. And I think each of us carries a vibration, and hopefully we can give off a good vibration. How did I get started? And first I got to go back here. Barb and I did not talk much about what we're going to do. And no surprise, because we really didn't know for sure what we were going to do or how we were going to carry it out. And if you want, we'll be getting to our marriage counseling by Swami. That's coming up. So hold on to your seatbelts. I did not grow up in what we call a functional family. I know everybody here grew up in dysfunctional families. Sairam, I'm so happy for you. It was wonderful in love and peace. I grew up in a dysfunctional family. My father divorced my mother, and he was a retired colonel, full colonel from the Army, and he'd been married 2 or 3 times, and he had another woman on the side, and they got married, and that was just fine. He was a heavy smoker, a heavy drinker, and he died of cirrhosis of the liver. I have an older brother, and he and I kind of didn't get along from time to time. Every day. Like, he pushed my buttons as he started to beat me up. And he outweighed me all the way through. He still outweighs me by about 80 pounds. He's a pretty big fellow. And actually, he was not a nice guy. He became the big drug dealer in Oceanside. That's what he did. He sold drugs. I want to give some of the story. When he was 22 years old, he married a woman who was 15, and they had a child. And actually, he would beat up on her, and I told him to stop doing that. He would pull the gun. He was going to kill me. Just a typical family. Then when that marriage didn't work out, and before he went to prison, he married a 14-year-old. You say, well, that's against the law, Swami. That's against the law. He knows. Well, he was going to prison anyway. That was my family. And a friend of mine, going way back, I don't know when other people know him. In fact, I'm going to have some people who remembers Wilson Baga? Anybody out here remember Wilson Baga? All right. Wilson Baga used to say, Richard, it's all good. I think for God it's all good. And I think sometimes we have a hard time seeing what the good is. But my childhood experiences and going against my older brother, that was fantastic for me. It taught me to stand up for myself. And lo and behold, this older brother who was such a jerk turned out to be a wonderful, loving man. And it's right, Barb? It's absolutely incredible. He does so much good for others. He went off to prison and turned to God. Turned to God. And he goes out, he's gone out preaching, telling people about the horrors of drugs and the whole thing. And he's very highly respected, and he's a wonderful, loving, kind person. And Barb and I have talked about this. God is God. For us, Sai Baba is God. But Sai Baba says we're all God. Jesus is God. We're all God. And that's the important thing. And I'm going to go back to this kind of thing. What kind of a vessel do we have that fills up with Godness? And whether we are Sai Baba devotees or Christians or something like that, some people have really big vessels and some don't. But I will make a judgment call here. A judgment call as we get to this. Because we're with Sai Baba, we are going to be exposed to a whole lot of miracles, of things going on all the time that most people aren't ever exposed to. And if we were to go to a psychologist or a psychiatrist and say to this person, I'm having problems, but you know, Sai Baba is my God, and all these miracles happen, and he can move his hands and produce things, and he can bilocate. You tell that to your psychologist or psychiatrist. Well, we don't do those kinds of things. We know what's going to happen. So anyway, I'm going to keep going. How did I get involved with Sai Baba? How did this happen? And Bernice was there, and Vera was there. How did that one happen? Well, lo and behold, going back about 20 years ago, and say it's all good, I told Barb, I said, Barb, I'm not feeling well. And I went to the doctor and I had blood in my urine. Oh, and it was at Kaiser. And they said, well, you have blood in your urine, we'll get back to you. And I said, well, I got home, I said, I have another doctor. I called another doctor on Monday. And I went through the urologist. I went through about 50 doctors. And I finally found a doctor. And I went in to see the doctor. He says, well, we're going to take you in on Friday, and we're going to check you out and see what's going on. Hello there. Of all the doctors I went to, this doctor's name was Dr. Sai. Dr. Sai. Well, it's TSAI, but Dr. Sai. And I went in on that Friday, and I had 2 tumors taken out. I had kind of a low-stage bladder cancer. That was 20 years ago. And I used to have to go in all the time to be checked, to be scoped. Why me, Swami? Why? Very painful. Not much fun, but it's been about 20 years and I'm okay. But that started me on my journey. I said, my God, and I know some people here have dealt with cancer and so on, and it makes you think hard about life. What are you going to do? And I said, well, I had the big C. It's time for me to start looking around, finding out about God. Who is God? And George and Pushpa just showed up in the back. And they also do the bhajans at their house. And they have something for Maria here. Hello, George and Pushpa. And they have a miracle house also. And I have a whole list outside of a flyer with Saturdays they do bhajans and so on. And so welcome. So anyway, I started looking around. And as you all know, it's like, where do we start looking? Where do we start looking to find out? And this was interesting. I started with the Church of Religious Science in Glendale. And I started reading books by Deepak Chopra, Wayne Dyer, other people, going through this stuff. But I was also concerned, what do we do when we are stressed and afraid and we're going to die. Well, I said, I better start taking care of myself every night. I would listen to meditation music. I was reading these books, and I was going to these classes. And I'm going to use a term here. Born of the Spirit. Holy moly, brother! Born of the Spirit. And that's something that goes on, Christian faith and this and that. I believe it goes on in all faiths. And when we talk about transformation, we're starting to talk about being born of the Spirit. And all of a sudden, and this is even before I met Sai Baba, it was like I went off a cliff. Totally off the cliff. Does it happen in 1 day, 2 days? This went on for weeks. And I said, I don't even know if I told you. I said, I am out of it. What is going on here? And I was changing every cell in my body, getting more in tune with Spirit, which is what we need to do. And I was doing something else, way different than what most people do. And that's probably what really got me on this journey, Swami, really got me going. I said, who can I go to tell me what God is like, or who God is like? Who can I go to? Can I go to the minister, to the priest? Who can I go? Who are you going to go to tell you what God is like? Pretty hard to do, because I'm sitting there going, reflection, reaction, resound. How does that sound? No. I was going projection, power, trying to prove how smart, how learned they are. And I said, if I go to see these people, am I really finding out about God? How do we do this? So I started what I call my God book. And I was learning how to use the computer anyway about 20 years ago. I would sit down maybe for an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours at a time, and would just sit there and let things pop into my brain. Let's see, what's coming in now? Whoa, what is this? And I just let it fly, and all this stuff. Most of what came out was garbage, because I'm just repeating what people say. God is this, God is God. Oh, okay. But after you've done this for about 2 years, and you have several hundred pages, single space, thin, blah, 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 something had happened. So my daughter came home. My daughter goes, hey, and she calls me, I have one daughter, she calls me Dick. My son calls me Dad. Interesting. When I was growing up, I had good friends, and we called them by their parents, we called them by their first name, so I thought, that's fun. Then my son, I said, okay, call me Dad. So she goes, Dick, what are you doing? And I said, well, I'm doing my God book. Wow. And she looks at me, and she says, you're channeling God. Interesting thought. But isn't that what all of us want to do? Isn't that what we need to be doing, which is to have the God come from inside of us? We each need to be a channel of God. So that was interesting. And I'm going to church. And I'm on my spiritual path, and I'm still on my spiritual path. I think we're all on our spiritual path. And lo and behold, there's a book I pick up by a woman by the name of Phyllis Crystal, The Ultimate Experience. And I'm looking for books. I'm ready for something else. And so I pick it up, a book by Phyllis Crystal. And she starts going on. There's a picture of this guy with an afro. Whoa. This is kind of weird. What's he doing with an afro? This is just totally weird. And I start reading the book. Well, I put it back on the shelf. No way. This is garbage. It's garbage. So the next week I'm looking for a book. I pick up the book. Uh-oh, this is pure garbage. Third week, okay, I'll buy the book. I'll buy the book. I came home, and I tell Barb, this is right around Christmas time. I said, Barb, I'm going to go to India. If this guy can do even one thing that's talked about, I need to see him. I need to go see who Sai Baba is. So the next day was the day before Christmas. I went and started the process for a passport, and I'm getting to Bernice and Vera in a minute. So I started the process for a passport. A couple weeks later, I got the passport back, and somehow I think Barbara said, well, you have to have a visa. You have to have a visa. And I've never traveled. I didn't have a passport. And I'd heard about the bookstore and Tustin and all that, side bookstore. So I called over there. Do I need to have a visa? What? And I talked to some of my Shanti or Prashanti, and she must have thought I was an idiot. Of course you have to have a visa, of course. But if you go to the Bank of India over in Artesia on Pioneer Boulevard tomorrow, you can get your visa. Tomorrow. I just got my passport. So lo and behold, the next day I end up over there at Bank of India, and I'm sitting down and they give me the stuff to fill out. Now, I don't know if anybody else has felt this way, but I knew what I was doing was dumb, idiotic, out of this world, crazy. So I'm sitting down, filling in the forms, and they're all Indians from India. But then all of a sudden there's this white lady next to me. White lady. And she's looking down at me. And she says, are you going to see Sai Baba? I look up. And I'm just in, what? What? Are you going to see Sai Baba? Yes. And she starts asking me more questions and this and that. Well, and I tell her that I'm thinking about this 100% of the time. And old Vera Jones says, well, you've been called. Oh, what is she talking about? I have no idea. So anyway, not only does she tell me that, she says, we're leaving in like 2 weeks. And you can come with us. And my sister Bernice Mead is a head honcho. She's a bigwig, guaranteed to get an interview with Sai Baba. No, she didn't say that. And I said, no way. And she said, you can stay with Mike Walsh. It's like a blind date. I don't think so. No. I'm going in April. April. She looks at me and says, are you an idiot? It's hot in April. But give my sister a call anyway. So I gave the sister a call, Bernice a call. And she said, no, you don't want to go in April. It really is too hot. Come with us. Come. Mike needs a roommate. And I said, and she gave me the travel agent and this and that. And she said, you really can't go in April. Come with us. Well, I said to myself, I'll go, but not in April. I'll go close to the same time, but I'm not going to go with them. No way. No way. So I talked with the travel agent, and Bernice and company, and they were headed off on their trip on a certain date, and I'm leaving like the following day, which is just fine. I don't want to be with them. I don't want to have this guy as my roommate. Maybe I was even leaving 2 days later. Could have been 2 days later. So I got my confirmation from Radha Prasad. She has a different name, but that's what she goes by. And she called me up on the phone and something like this. And I told her I didn't want to go with these people. Oh, Dick, I got you exactly what you wanted.